On Tuesday at the State Department in Washington, D.C., something historically rare happened. Israeli Ambassador Yechiel Leiter and Lebanese Ambassador Nada Hamadeh sat across from each other with Secretary of State Marco Rubio facilitating. The first direct talks between Israel and Lebanon since 1993, possibly since 1983 by some accounts. The talks lasted just over 2 hours. Lebanon's ambassador described them as constructive. Israel's ambassador called them a wonderful exchange. Rubio told reporters, "We understand we are working against decades of history and complexities." All parties issued a joint statement affirming support for further talks and describing common ground on removing Iranian influence from Lebanon. The statement said negotiations could unlock significant reconstruction assistance and economic recovery for Lebanon. Hezbollah Secretary General Naim Qassem, however, called the talks a free concession to Israel. He urged Lebanon to cancel them. Hezbollah called the decision to attend a blatant violation of the National Pact, the Constitution, and the Lebanese laws. Hezbollah said it will not abide by any agreement, including renewed demands to disarm. The gap is structural. Both sides acknowledge Hezbollah is the problem. Neither has a realistic path in solving the problem. The Israel-Lebanon talks yesterday were genuinely historic in process. Two parties, technically at war since 1948, sat in a room together, and that matters. But the question nobody at the table could answer is the one that determines whether the talks ever produce anything. Who delivers Hezbollah? Lebanon cannot force Hezbollah to disarm. Israel will not accept a ceasefire that leaves Hezbollah armed. And Hezbollah, which has said it, will not comply with any agreement reached without it, is taking its instructions from Tehran, which is simultaneously a table with Washington trying to negotiate its own survival. Iran is Hezbollah's patron. If Iran makes a deal with the US that includes a ceasefire in Lebanon, Hezbollah may comply. That is the only realistic path to Hezbollah standing down, which means the Lebanon front is not solvable without the US-Iran deal. And the US-Iran deal is not solvable without Lebanon being resolved. That is the circular logic that makes this crisis so hard to break. So yes, yesterday was a historic meeting. A Hezbollah that refused to show up, a Lebanese government that wants peace but cannot deliver, and an Iranian negotiating team that has made Lebanon the condition for everything else. Let's bring in our guest and then build the full picture of this. Let's talk to our guest. We have Khalid Almina with us, senior journalist and analyst. Thank you so much, Mr. Khalid, for joining me. So, Lebanon question, they along with Israel sat in the same room for the first time in over 30 years. That's huge, apparently. Both sides called it constructive. Both sides went home back to an active war. Progress is described as unclear, and Hezbollah says it will not comply. What actually needs to happen for these talks to produce anything meaningful?
Well, I think the first thing the Israelis have to do is to withdraw back to their side of the border. The Israelis are always very dubious. They say talking and then they're hitting. They've killed over 2,500 people in a few days in Lebanon in cold-blooded murder. They have dropped bombs on hospitals, on emergency services. So these are all a pack of lies. And I'm not saying it in a propagandistic manner, but I truly believe that Israel just does this to allay the fears of the people and that they're going to have some kind of peaceful existence. But in the meantime, they're killing people. They have absolutely no sympathy for the people of Lebanon. So I wonder what will happen. This is just a drama to show that we are meeting with the Lebanese people. I believe that Lebanon, Gaza, and other places are going to be hotspots for a long time.
Wow. Hezbollah was not on the table, definitely, and it's a main stakeholder. It says that it will not abide by any agreement reached without it. But Hezbollah's patron, let's say Iran, is simultaneously trying to negotiate a deal with Washington that could include a regional ceasefire. So if Iran makes a deal, do you think Hezbollah would comply? Is that the only realistic path to Hezbollah standing down? And can Washington build a US-Iran deal that explicitly covers Lebanon over Hezbollah's objection?
You see, any deal that will happen has to have a focus by the Israelis themselves. I don't know how much hold now Iran, after it has been weakened, will have on Hezbollah, because remember, the main leaders are out, so these are all fragmented regional loyalties and groups that are there, unknown people, and everybody wants to have a go. But the idea is, in order to show good favor and a sense, Israel first should go back and then talk to the government of Lebanon, because the government of Lebanon has been hit, not only Hezbollah. West Beirut has been hit, people have been killed, hospitals in Lebanon have been indiscriminately fired on, patients in ICU have been blown up. So I think the important thing to show a good nature and a good side, which Israel never has, by the way, and never had or ever since its illegal existence, I think what they have to do is to go back to the border and then come up and see to it that treatment first is given to the people they have injured and maimed and killed and sort of got rid of.
Yeah, I believe very few people are calling Lebanon and Gaza and West Bank or whatever is happening in Syria is a sticking point, as much as the focus is on the Strait of Hormuz, because economy seems to be a bigger problem for the world at the moment. Who's going to take stand for Lebanon? Who's going to stand for what has been happening in Gaza for a very long time, in the West Bank? It seems there is a shadow war going on and nobody's bothered about it.
I agree with you, because money talks. Remember that lives are at stake. People, farmers, doctors, students have been totally blown off by this Zionist regime, aided by the evil Zionists in America. Let me be very frank. Yes, the Strait of Hormuz is very important. What is happening in the Gulf is very important. But at the same time, we have to have sympathy. We have to have some kind of humanity for the people who are suffering in that area.
It has, to be honest, what started on October 7 has blown into something bigger than what it started as. Do you think that's deliberate? Attacking Iran, getting the focus over there, getting the focus solely on a regime they have been after for so long, and meanwhile change whatever you want to change strategically in the West Bank, in the Gaza, in the Beirut, as you said. Is this deliberate in your opinion? And keep in mind, Netanyahu's election year is upcoming.
Well, it's a part of a concerted plan. October 7 was part of the process because it did not start. It started with the Nakba in 1948, with the occupation, with the killing of the Palestinians. And now there's a big drive people don't know. They're uprooting olive trees that are 2,000 and 3,000 and 4,000 years old to claim it as their own. The Israeli threat is an existentialist threat. Now, what is happening in Hormuz? Yes, there are very dangerous alternatives if things don't go well. But this thing will continue with Hormuz, with the attack on Iran or with other attacks. I think this will continue until some kind of a stop-it sign will be made for them, whether by the Arabs or by the international community.
Do you see Arabs doing that anytime soon?
Well, it's a fragmented world. I mean, it's a very fragmented world, and I think it's important for them to sort of be more cohesive, and the mosaic should come up again. And at the same time, in Israel also there has to be a change, because in the long range, Israel is not going to win, because the manpower, how are they going to control the area? They speak of Lebanon, they speak of other countries, they speak of the hegemony. How many soldiers will they need unless they get these mercenaries from America and Eastern Europe? Most of these are Polish and Eastern European, and they're going to die there. So it will be a free-for-all, but at the same time, it will cause havoc. It will stop the development of the economics in the area, social development, human development. It is causing great concern now, especially when the Gulf states were going on well, especially when Saudi Arabia was on a chart, or a very charted road and a path to achieving its sufficiency by 2030. So it is a deliberate attempt by the Zionists, and I'm not a propagandist, to see to it that the Arab states will be weak economically, militarily weak, and always be at the whim and caprices of the terrorists like Netanyahu.
Just a last question. Do you think there is a realization in Arab states that this has been a deliberate effort to undermine their development?
Yes, I think it's important to know. It's also important to know that the realignment, whether it's allies, whether it is armed sources, whether it is now a realization that you have no one to help you but yourself, and in your new definite structure that you are thinking of trying to draw, and the plans that you have. Time is running out, and we have seen how the attacks that were and also the destruction of the cohesion of the area by trying to make people in the country fight against each other. And here I think Saudi Arabia was very restrained. There was sobriety in the foreign policy.
It did show a lot of restraint, no doubt. Khalid
Yes,
Almina, thank you so much. So 3 stories tonight, and here is what tonight's Decode has built, that these 3 stories are not separate. The Lebanon front is why Iran would not sign in Islamabad. Italy's move is why Israel's conduct in Lebanon has a cost. The blockade is why Iran needs a deal and why Trump needs one too before November. Everything's connected through the same question. Can 2 sides that cannot agree on who is winning agree on what a compromise looks like? 7 days, April 22nd. The ceasefire expires. Trump says amazing 2 days are coming. Iran says no information. Pakistan is all for peace. Watch Ishaqdar. Watch Paris on Friday. Watch whether any ship gets fired upon in a 34-kilometer strait that the whole world depends on. I am Zunaira Azhar. This was tonight's Decode. We will be watching every signal and we will decode it the moment it moves. Good night.